The Top 60 Cowboys Players is brought to you by DraftKings. Play for millions this NFL season only on DraftKings.
Cowboys select Troy Eatman, quarterback, UCLA.
How about them Cowboys?
Eatman throws it right to the goal line. Urban jumping catch at the 3, diving, touchdown!
Draw to Smith, tackled but breaks away to the 10, to the 5, touchdown Evan Smith, fumble, and the Cowboys pick it up, and here comes James Washington, touchdown Cowboys!
Eatman to pass on first and goal from the 3, wide open, Jay Novacek, touchdown!
And Dallas, your Cowboys are the champions. Move over, Sweetness! Make a place for Emmett.
Screen intercepted by DeMarcus Ware. Plucked the apple off the tree. Ware with his second touchdown of the year. Oh, high snap over his head. Romo kicks it, picks it up and runs left to the 50. First down for St. Hood. Deep middle win. Lost his helmet. Keeps running. Over the shoulder. Touchdown. Bryant. And the X is going up again. DeMarcus Lawrence with the sack, strip, fumble. How about that? PRESCOTT in the gun, runs it up the middle, bangs to the goal line, he's in. Here we go, run Zeke, up the middle, he's gone. Zeke's gone, goodbye Zeke, touchdown.
"2020, the Cowboys celebrate their 60th anniversary season. And what better way to do that than by counting down the top 60 players in Dallas Cowboys history. I'm Brad Sham, and I am joined for this conversation by an esteemed panel. It's, I'm going to say for the moment, led by Nick Eatman of DallasCowboys.com, and our other panelists might disagree with that. Nick might want to demur, but Nick basically came up with all the rules. So I'm going to say that Nick is leading the panel, but we are delighted and honored to be joined by two of the most avid Cowboys followers of their history. The great Rick Gosselin, who remains one of the most respected pro football writers in all of the country, many, many years with the Dallas Morning News. Jean-Jacques Taylor grew up in Dallas, has covered the Cowboys for a number of media outlets, and all four of us have spent a little bit of time watching this team. So the first thing that we want to tell you is that the top 10 Dallas Cowboys will be unveiled on the NFL Network on Sunday night, and we are now going to bring you from 60 through 11. So Nick Eatman, you're up first. How was this numerical system and ranking devised?
Well, I have to say, Brad, calling me the leader here, my next Hall of Fame vote will be my first, so I can't hardly say that with knowing that Rick Gosselin and all the things that he's done. And Jock Taylor taught me just about everything there is to know about being on the beat, so it's hard for me to say the leader of that group, but I appreciate it because, yes, we did come up with kind of the format and the rules are simple. Whatever you think the greatest Dallas Cowboy, whatever criteria you've got, go with that. And we have a panel of 14 people. The four of us were on it, 10 others. And you just decide what makes the great Dallas Cowboy. Was it just production on the field? Was it, just where they were in the community, how they portrayed themselves, what they meant to the teams that they were on? So it was up to the people to pick their own criteria. And I don't think that many people were too far off. And it was certainly fun to do it.
So before you yield the floor, Nick, and before you gerrymandered the votes, how many of the top 10 did you get, and how many did you have in the top 60 who didn't make it?
I actually had 58 of the 60. There was a couple that I had that didn't make it, but and of the 10, nine, I believe. I believe there'll be one guy there that we talk about today that didn't make it, that maybe played here the last 16 or 17 years. But I think that, just from a scoring standpoint, I'm not a math major at all. I made it really simple. If you were number one, if Roger Staubach was number one on your list, he got 60. And if there was a guy that got, number 60 on the list, he got one. And I just calculated it that way.
Okay, and then last thing from you, and then we're going to go to Jock and Rick, because I know that something you just said rang true with me when you asked me to do my list, and I picked the 60, in my opinion, greatest Dallas Cowboys of all time, which meant not necessarily how many awards did they win or records did they set, but what did they mean to the team? That was my criterion. Nick, what was yours?
You know, very similar to that. You can't just say the best players that ever played for the Cowboys. There's 7 or 8 guys that are in the Hall of Fame that aren't considered Cowboys, and you can't just go good guys, you know, that did great stuff off the field. I just tried to find a combination, mainly accomplishments on the field, but also, you know, what they meant to the team. I'm always going to give Everson Walls a little bit more because I think what Everson Walls did for a fellow teammate is something that's worthy of being, you know, honorable that way. So most of it for me was production, but also what they meant to the franchise, like a Bill Bates or somebody like that. I think also rings true as well.
Okay, so just to be clear, and maybe a little argumentative, so you graded Everson Walls up for the selfless humanity, act of humanity that he performed for Ron Springs, but did you count against anybody for character or divisiveness?
Not necessarily. I mean, because I think, yeah, a little bit. I mean, some of those guys, you know, that might have been great football players, then maybe that just on the outside of it, if their character and if they didn't do things that got them off the team, they probably would have played a lot longer. So I just think it's a divide. It's a little bit of both. I just kind of try to combine the two a little bit because of what Everson Walls did. To me, that makes him a outstanding Dallas Cowboys. Teammates through and through. I do put him a little higher on the list. But if he wasn't a great football player, he wouldn't be on there. I mean, he's on the list because he's a great football player.
Great, thank you. So we've established, Rick Gosselin, that Nick used wild subjectivity to govern him. And Hall of Famer, you do yourself have some pretty good credentials. So how did you set up your list? What were your criteria?
Yeah, I went by the Hall of Fame rule. What you did after you crossed the white lines onto the field. I didn't consider anything off the field. And when you start stacking the honors, I mean, there are 17 players in this list with 6 or more Pro Bowls, 19 Ring of Honor, 14 Hall of Famers, 15 all-decade players, and 5 on the 100th anniversary team, the top 100 players in football. So when you start stacking that, you're probably 30-some names into the list. And then you figure out Pro Bowls and impact on the field for the bottom part of the list.
And how many did you get out of the top 10, Rick, and how many of your 60 didn't make the list?
I believe I got all 10 in the top 10, and I had 57 of the 60.
57 of the, that's why you're a Hall of Famer. All right, Jacques, like Nick, you grew up following this team. What were your personal criteria when you submitted your list?
Well, you know, the hard part for me, man, is that moving to Dallas in 1975, guys like Dorsett and Staubach and Drew Pearson, those were my heroes growing up. So I had to try to figure out how much weight am I giving my heroes as opposed to the guys who I covered, who I treated much more like a business. And so I really tried to nail it down to impact, because I'm an impact guy. I like great players. And I tell you, you know you've covered an iconic franchise when you're a Hall of Fame player and you can't make the top 10. I mean, think about that. You're a Hall of Famer and you can't get in the top 10. And I got 9 of the top 10. And had I been thinking, I would have got 10 of the top 10. But you know, sometimes it works out like that.
Again, the NFL Network will debut the top 10, but we are going to run from 60 through 11. Let me tell you, first of all, in great NCAA basketball tournament fashion, the first 5 out. Here are the 5 guys who were closest, who did not make the official Dallas Cowboys top 60 list. Herb Scott, 3-time Pro Bowl guard, twice an All-Pro, and the man who unofficially caught Roger Staubach's last pass. Dexter Coakley, 3-time Pro Bowl linebacker from 1997 to 2004, and a member of the NFL All-Rookie team. Thomas Henderson, Pro Bowler and an integral part of the Dirty Dozen and the Super Bowl runs in the late 70s, did not make the top 60. Larry Cole, 2-time Super Bowl champion, who made my favorite play in watching the Cowboys over 42 years back in 1979. Larry played from 68 to 80. and Walt Garrison, Pro Bowl running back and fullback. That's the 5 who just narrowly missed. So let's start with number 60 and go through number 51, and I will read them off in order. And Jacques, we'll start with you. We'll go around the table for a comment, and you can say where you had them or not and what you think of their placing here. And Jim Jeffcoat comes in at number 60, 102 career sacks, two-time Super Bowl champion, and then, of course, the defensive line coach from 1998 to 2004. Jim Jeffcoat's number 60. Goose, what do you think?
One of 9 players in franchise history with 90-plus sacks. I had him much higher on my list. I had him in the 30s. Again, I thought he had a great settling influence on those early Super Bowl teams when they were so young. And I gave him a little more stock than that.
Jock?
See, I think Jeffcoat is a classic kind of guy. See, I mean, Rick pulls out his numbers, and you go, really, he had that many sacks? But he was not a guy who sought a lot of attention. He was not a guy who got a lot of attention. And guys like that tend to slip through the cracks on votes like this.
So I take it that means that, like me, you and I both underrated Jim Jeffcoat.
You got it.
Yeah, okay. Nick, where'd you have Jim?
60. I had him 60.
Funny
honestly.
enough, the guy who invented the entire thing landed number 60, right on number 60. What a lucky boy.
Actually, I can tell you, he wasn't on the list first. I had another guy on the list. I'll just say it. I had Terrell Owens on the list. It was we made the decision as an organization that the top you had to play in for 4 years to be on this list. So T.O. actually wasn't on there, so I had to put another guy, and I put Jeffcoat in to that spot. So, but you'll go around, you'll see there's a lot of numbers on here I have nowhere close to on my list.
Okay, here's a guy I missed by only one. Number 59 is truly an iconic Cowboy, Bill Bates. Number 58 on the list is Leon Lett, the current assistant defensive line coach. Number 57 is Sean Lee. Number 56, Jay Ratliff. Number 55 is Bob Brunig. Number 54, Dak Prescott. Number 53, Mark Tuinei. Number 52, Billy Joe Dupree. And number 51, Andre Gerard, 5-time Pro Bowl center. So, Rick, the rest of that group for you.
Well, my favorite is Leon Lett. In 1991, the Cowboys drafted James Richard to guard out of UCLA in the 3rd round. And after about 2 weeks of practice, Jimmy calls Tony Wise to Jimmy and says, Tony, he's terrible. He can't block anybody. What, did we make a mistake? Turns out he was working second, third team reps trying to block Leon Lett from Emporia State. So they didn't miss on Richards, but they undersold Leon Lett.
Jock, who jumps off that bottom 10 list for you?
You know, really who jumps off, man, is Sean Lee. And here's why. Sean Lee would have been in the teens or the 20s if he could have stayed healthy. I was talking on my radio show the other day, and I was like, if Sean Lee had been healthy, I don't know that he'd be a Hall of Famer, but I think he'd be in the conversation, kind of like Darren Woodson. Should he not be? Why isn't he? And I thought he was a great player, and I don't use that word lightly, but health betrayed him, and we just never saw the best of Sean Lee as much as I wish we could have.
100% agree with that. I will tell you, Nick, I believe and I hate this because I love this guy, but I undervalued Billy Joe Dupree, who came in at 52. Where did you have him, and what did you think of the rest of the bottom 10?
I think I had Billy Joe Dupree in I think it was the early 50s, honestly. I think it was right around here. But the guy that jumps off to me on this is Dak, because that's the tough thing to do on this. Because you have to project somewhat. You have to kind of say, all right, what are they, what have they done, but also where do you think this might go for them? And for Dak, to me, I put the face of the franchise. I put that weight on their shoulders a little bit more. He is the face of the franchise, and I look at it now and I think 54 just seems low for me for Dak, but I understand it. He's only been to the playoffs twice. He's won 1 game. It just seems low, though, knowing what we know right now about him.
Okay, we're going to move on to 50 through 41. And again, if you've just stumbled upon us, I'm Brad Sham with the great Hall of Fame voter and Hall of Fame writer Rick Gosselin, with John Jock Taylor, and with Nick Eatman of DallasCowboys.com. I'll read you 50 through 41. And Jacques, we're going to let you have first crack at this. Number 50 is Pat Donovan, 4-time Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champion offensive tackle, once a second-team All-Pro. Number 49 was Herschel Walker, 2 times in the Pro Bowl after he joined the Cowboys. Wide receiver Tony Hill was number 48. 47, the great Jethro Pugh, defensive tackle next to Bob Lilly. 46, the recently retired center Travis Frederick, 5-time Pro Bowl center. At number 45, Roy Williams. This is the safety, Roy Williams, thank goodness. Calvin Hill at number 44, 4-time Pro Bowl running back in the 60s and 70s. Number 43, DARYL Johnston, the fullback on the 90s Super Bowl champions, a 3-time Super Bowl champion and twice a Pro Bowler. Number 42, Ralph Neely, offensive tackle, member of the 60s All-Decade team, 4-time All-Pro. And number 41, a fellow you may have heard of, Ezekiel Elliott, now just in his 4th year, but already a 2-time rushing champion, a 3-time Pro Bowler, twice an All-Pro. All right, Goose, you jump on this list.
I thought the one guy who really got shorted on this list was Ralph Neely. He's one of 15 All-Decade players. He's one of only 2 Cowboy All-Decade players in the 1960s. I had him at 20 on my list. I think had the Cowboys gone to a Super Bowl in the 60s, he would have been in the Hall of Fame discussion. As it stands now, he's never been a Hall of Fame candidate, but I think he's deserving of that discussion. I thought, again, I had him 20 spots higher than we had him.
Jacques, how about you?
You know, to me, man, one of the most intriguing players is Roy Williams, because you thought the safety, because you thought he was on a Hall of Fame arc his first 2 or 3 years of the league. He was making plays. He was a devastating hitter. He was a guy intercepting passes. And then he just disappeared. Now, maybe you think it was because Darren Woodson retired and he didn't have that guy setting him up. Maybe it's because the box safety became kind of an anomaly in the league. But when Roy Williams showed up, he was everything you thought he was going to be. And 5 years later, you're like, what the heck happened?
Yeah, he really missed Darren Woodson, it seemed. That's for sure. All right, Nick, what about on this list jumped out at you?
I'd have to say Herschel Walker. I think that I know. I just looked it up. I had him rated way higher than anybody else on this on the panel. Some people didn't even have him in there at all, so I might have moved him up higher than this. I just thought his value of what he was as a player, one team thought he was as a player, changed the whole course of the franchise. And so, you know, he came in a couple years after his pro career from the USFL. I thought he was a really good player on some bad teams, but I thought his value is one of the reasons why the Cowboys were the team in the 90s.
Well, there's no question that if being what got all those draft choices in trade gets you on the list, then Herschel Walker deserves this spot. I'm glad to see DARYL Johnston on the list because the players who played with him said and will say, many of them, he might have been pound for pound the best football player on the team. Okay, here is 40 through 31 on the list of the 60 greatest Dallas Cowboys of all time. We're doing this to help commemorate 60 seasons of Dallas Cowboys football. Number 40 is Flozell Adams, 5-time Pro Bowl offensive tackle. Number 39, center Mark Stepnoski, 5-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All-Pro. Leroy Glover, defensive tackle, 6 times in the Pro Bowl, 4 of those 6 in his years with the Cowboys. He's number 38. Quarterback and punter Danny White, number 37. Tight end Jay Novacek, number 36. Safety Charlie Waters, number 35. Des Bryant, the wide receiver, number 34. Number 33, Eric Williams, the offensive tackle. George Andre, the defensive end from the 60s, is number 32. And number 31 is offensive lineman, 3-time Super Bowl champion and 6-time Pro Bowler, Nate Newton. Jacques, I'm going to let you start with this group.
Hey, man, I think the name that stands out is Eric Williams to me. And that's because I started covering the Cowboys in 1995. He had that horrific car accident in 1994. And so I saw him coming back, working back from that injury. And all I can know is everybody telling me if he doesn't get hurt, he's definitely one of the greatest tackles ever. Who you name me another guy who went to war with Reggie White like that on a consistent basis before he got hurt. I would have loved to see him in his prime, and the fact that he battled and played when he was physically just a shell of the guy when he got back, that says a lot to his determination.
I did see him in his prime, and Rick Gosselin, I don't think there's any question that given good health, Eric Williams would have been a slam dunk Hall of Famer. What do you think?
Yeah, he would have gone in before Larry Allen. Had not had that car wreck. I remember his first game back was a Monday night game against the Giants, and he's lined up against Michael Strahan. He says, "Michael, I'm back. I'm going to kick your tail, and if I don't, this guy will." And he pointed to Larry Allen on his left.
Yeah, just think about that for a minute. Eric Williams and Larry Allen were lined up on the same offensive line next to each other. That shouldn't be fair.
Well, they won the '95 Super Bowl.
Yeah, how about that? Okay, Nick, how about that group?
Yeah. Say that again, Jack.
I said Eric Williams was the meanest player I ever covered.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't cover him for very long at all, but I could say that. I'm gonna go with it. I have a feeling I might be stealing Brad's guy. I might steal Brad's guy here, but I had to go back and add and move Charlie Waters up the list for me because this guy got it done in the playoffs. I mean, he got interceptions. I think he's the leader of all time in Cowboys history in playoff interceptions. And while Cliff Harris was considered the better player, this guy, Charlie Waters came to play in the big moments. And so I thought that was really something that should put him a little higher on the list. I'm glad that Flozell Adams is up there as well. I think Flozell was a really good player that needed Parcells to kind of push him, get him into gear, and then he became an outstanding player.
And Nick, your point about Charlie Waters is well taken because it's a reminder of why it's important to see him play football. You cannot get everything about a football player from statistics on a page or a profile in a book. And if you watch Charlie Waters play, then which only a couple of us were old enough to have done, then you understood his value in many ways that were not measured statistically. All right, we are ranking the top 60 Dallas Cowboys up to number 11. The NFL Network will debut numbers 1 through 10. We're going in reverse order, and we're at number 30. Number 30, offensive guard John Nyland, a 6-time Pro Bowler and a Super Bowl champion. Don Perkins, the Ring of Honor running back, is number 29. Number 28 is Tyron Smith, the 7-time Pro Bowl current left tackle. Ed Jones, defensive end, number 27. Number 26 is current right guard and future Hall of Famer, he said, Zach Martin. Number 25, Everson Walls. Number 24, quarterback Don Meredith. Number 23, Cornell Green, and here's where I make my repeated annual pitch for Cornell Green to be in the Ring of Honor. In my opinion, the most deserving player to be in the Ring of Honor who is not there. Number 22, Deion Sanders, the Hall of Famer. Number 21, quarterback Tony Romo. Jacques, go.
Hey, man, it's got to be Everson Walls to me. He's the guy I stick out. And I mean, yes, the giving Ron Springs a kidney, it doesn't really get any better than that. But who has 13 picks, then follows it up with 11, and is one of my all-time favorite players because he was a no-name guy, undrafted free agent, and he did it at the highest level. And that's why I think, his career got noticed late, but early on, man, he was that guy.
Nick.
Boy, this whole range of players is guys that could be or might be in the Ring of Honor one day. But, I'm going to go with Deion Sanders because, to me, there's a lot of argument. Well, Deion's not really a Cowboy, or where does he go? People forget that he played 72 games with the Falcons. He played 70 with the Cowboys. 5 years there, 5 years there. So, and if he wouldn't have missed half the year with an ankle injury when he first got here, he would have played more. So he's a Dallas Cowboy if he's anybody. And I think that being the greatest cornerback in NFL history, in my opinion and others' opinion, I think, this is about where he should be. But I think that Deion Sanders is deserving to be on any Dallas Cowboy list because he was so great. And he helped them win a Super Bowl.
Rick, I am tempted to get you into a conversation about Deion Sanders versus Mel Renfro or even Mel Blount, but that's not what this is for. So 30 through 21, what do you think?
Cornell Green, let me echo this. There are 6 undrafted free agents, college free agents on this list. Think about that. 6 of your top 60 players were undrafted college free agents, and 3 of them are in the 20s here. Romo, Green, and Walls. Somebody was doing their job, turning over all the rocks to find the good players back then.
I would just add that in addition to Cornell Green, in my opinion, being the most deserving player who's not in the Ring of Honor to go in there, Everson Walls right behind him, and I hope and Ed Jones very deserving, but I hope they don't forget about John Nyland too. He was a pace-setting and game-changing guard for those early Super Bowl teams, and you almost had to see him play to be able to remember him. Okay, last group of 10. We're going from 20 up to 11. And the NFL Network will take it the rest of the way. So number 20 is Harvey Martin, the late, great Harvey Martin, co-MVP of Super Bowl 12. Number 19, Hall of Fame pass rusher Charles Haley. Number 18, Ring of Honor safety Darren Woodson, the all-time leading tackler in franchise history. Number 17, Ring of Honor linebacker Chuck Howley. Number 16, Ring of Honor linebacker Leroy Jordan. Number 15, Ring of Honor and hopefully about to be Hall of Famer receiver Drew Pearson. Number 14, Ring of Honor and Hall of Fame safety Cliff Harris. Number 13, DeMarcus Ware. All of those accolades are coming to him when the time attributes fit him. 9 times in the Pro Bowl. Number 12, Jason Witten. And I will tell you that he is the only one of my top 10 who didn't make the top 10. Number 11, Hall of Fame wide receiver Bob Hayes. So there's a lot of Hall of Fame stuff in there, Rick Gosselin. I'm going to give you first crack.
Think about it. You got 4 Hall of Famers in this group that didn't make the top 10 in franchise history. And then you throw in Jason Witten, Marcus Ware, Chuck Howley, possibly Leroy Jordan. Now this even Harvey Martin. This is a stacked group in the 20s. These guys are all Hall of Fame caliber players.
Jacques Taylor, what jumps off this list at you?
To me, man, is Harvey Martin. I mean, the preeminent pass rushing defensive end, a guy who terrorized quarterbacks, and who can forget, because I was 10 years old watching it, him and Randy White terrorizing Craig Morton and helping the Cowboys win that Super Bowl against Denver.
Okay, Nick, how about this 11 through 20 group?
Well, I'm in my office at the Star, and you see behind me, Darren Woodson's my favorite player of all time. So I got to go with Darren Woodson on this. But you guys said it best. I mean, just so many talented players right here. I'm with you, Brad. Jason Witten also was in my top 10 and didn't make it here. But for the most part, I mean, this group right here could be better than a lot of teams' top 10 for sure.
So we got about a minute and a half left, and Rick, I really do want to draw you in, at least get a comment from you about Drew Pearson, because he's still got to, he and Tom Flores have to pass the 80% muster vote to be official in the Hall of Fame. You're a voter, and you're presented Drew. Is there any doubt in your mind that those two guys get approved?
No, I like his chances. He's the only first-team all-decade player from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s not in. And since 1930, there have been 17 first-team all-decade wide receivers. 16 are in. Drew's the 17th, and he's never even been a finalist. This will be his first trip to the finals. I think once we get him in the room, I think he's in.
COVID depending, next year in successive days, the 2020 and 2021 classes of the Pro Football Hall of Fame will be presented, and that means that Jimmy Johnson and Cliff Harris and Drew Pearson will all be honored together. So fun deal. NFL Network's got the top 10 Cowboys of all time coming up. And as Rick has mentioned, this must have been a pretty good franchise for the first 60 years to have this list of players. Thanks to Rick Gosselin. Thanks to Jean-Jacques Taylor. Thanks to Nick Eatman. Thanks to all of you for being Cowboy fans and for tuning in. I'm Brad Sham. Happy 60th anniversary.
The Top 60 Cowboys Players was brought to you by DraftKings. Play for millions this NFL season only on DraftKings.
Charlie Waters can pick it up and run.
Rodgers pumps it once. He's going long. Down the near sideline for Drew Pearson. Pearson makes the catch at the 5. Touchdown.
Dorsett up the middle. Here he goes. Cuts to his right. Going all the way. Unbelievable. Tony Dorsett is in the record books. 99 yards.
Oh, handoff and
and Jones snuffs it. It is caught by Walker at the 18. Walker to the 10. Touchdown, Herschel Walker.